What if I told you that one of the most powerful vegetables you could grow in your garden right now has been sitting in agricultural history books for over 4,000 years, and most modern gardeners are walking right past it at the seed store, while everyone else is obsessing over exotic superfoods, kale chips, and heirloom tomatoes? A quiet group of experienced gardeners, the ones who actually know what they're doing, have gone back to something older, something simpler, something that fed Roman legions, sustained Viking populations through brutal winters, and kept entire European nations alive during food crises. They've gone back to the turnip. Yes, the turnip. Before you click away, stay with me, because what you're about to learn will completely change how you think about this vegetable. The turnip is not boring. The turnip is brilliant. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the smartest growers on the planet are quietly, almost secretly, putting it back into their gardens. Let's start with the basics, because understanding this plant properly is what separates a gardener who grows turnips and is disappointed from one who grows turnips and is genuinely amazed. The turnip's full scientific name is Brassica rapa subs. Rapa. It belongs to the Brassicaceae family, the same powerhouse plant family that gives us broccoli, cabbage, kale, radishes, and mustard. The plant is believed to have originated in Central Asia, most likely in the region covering present-day Afghanistan and Pakistan, with some botanical historians pointing to Northern Europe as a secondary center of domestication. By the time ancient Greek and Roman agricultural records were being written, turnips were already a well-established staple crop across the known world. Now, what does this plant actually look like? The turnip is a biennial plant, meaning it completes its full life cycle across two growing seasons. But in practical agriculture, it is almost always grown and harvested as an annual in its first season. The part most people recognize is the swollen taproot, which forms just at or slightly above the soil line. This root can range in size from a golf ball to a softball, depending on the variety and growing conditions. The skin of the root is typically white or creamy near the bottom, with a distinctive purple, red, or greenish coloring on the upper portion where the root is exposed to sunlight. Inside, the flesh is firm, crisp, and white or pale yellow. But here is what makes the turnip genuinely rule-breaking among vegetables. It gives you two completely separate, edible, nutritious crops from a single plant. The root is harvested and eaten. The leaves, called turnip greens, are harvested and eaten as a leafy vegetable. Two harvests, one plant, same garden space. That level of efficiency is something many modern, trendy vegetables simply cannot compete with. The plant itself grows upright, reaching about 30 to 60 centimeters in height when allowed to bolt and flower. The leaves are rough-textured, bright green, and slightly hairy, characteristics common across the Brassica family. When the plant flowers, it produces small, cheerful yellow blossoms that attract pollinators. There are dozens of cultivated varieties of turnip recognized today, from the fast-maturing purple top white globe, which is the most widely grown variety globally, to the Tokyo Cross, a Japanese hybrid that reaches harvest size in under 35 days, to the Golden Ball, prized for its sweeter flavor profile. What you are looking at is not an ordinary root vegetable. You are looking at one of the most field-tested, climate-adapted, nutritionally dense, space-efficient vegetables in the history of human agriculture. And in Act 2, we're going to talk about exactly where it grows, how fast it grows, and what it needs from you to perform at its absolute best. One of the most important reasons smart gardeners keep coming back to turnips is this: the plant is extraordinarily adaptable. It does not demand perfect conditions. It does not require a greenhouse or a specialist soil mix or a carefully calibrated irrigation system. But understanding what it genuinely thrives in, as opposed to just tolerates, is what separates a mediocre harvest from an outstanding one. Turnips are a cool season crop. This is critical to understand. The plant's optimal growing temperature range is between 7 degrees Celsius and 18 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It can tolerate light frosts down to approximately -4 degrees Celsius. 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which actually improves the flavor of the root by converting some of the starches into sugars. This frost tolerance is a significant advantage that warm season crops like tomatoes or cucumbers will never have. You can plant turnips in early spring while other gardeners are still waiting for the soil to warm up. You can plant them again in late summer for a fall harvest when most of your other crops are shutting down. Turnips extend your productive gardening season at both ends. In terms of soil, turnips perform best in well-drained, loose, fertile loam or sandy loam with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. Compact, clay-heavy soil causes the roots to deform, producing forked or stunted roots that are still edible but commercially undesirable. The soil should be worked to a depth of at least 30 centimeters before planting to allow the taproot to expand freely downward without obstruction. Turnips respond well to added compost and moderate levels of phosphorus and potassium, but they do not require heavy nitrogen fertilization. In fact, excess nitrogen pushes leafy top growth at the expense of root development. Geographically, turnips are grown on every inhabited continent. The top producing countries globally include China, which dominates world production by a wide margin, followed by the European Union, particularly France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, and the United States. In Asia, Japan has developed some of the most refined turnip cultivation practices, producing specialty varieties for culinary markets. In Northern Europe, turnips remain an important part of traditional farming systems, particularly in Scotland and Scandinavia, where they are known as swedes or neeps in some varieties. Now let's walk through the growth timeline, because this is where the turnip truly shows off. You plant turnip seeds directly in the ground. Turnips do not transplant well due to their taproot structure, so direct sowing is the correct method. Seeds are sown at a shallow depth of just 1 to 2 centimeters, and they germinate quickly, typically within 4 to 7 days under ideal conditions. By week 2, seedlings are established with their first true leaves visible. At this point, thinning is important. Spacing plants to approximately 10 to 15 centimeters apart ensures roots have room to develop properly. By week 4, root swelling is visible at the soil surface. This is when the purple coloring on the upper root becomes distinct. By week 5 to 6, early baby turnips can be harvested for tender, mild-flavored roots. Many gardeners harvest at this stage for the best texture. By week 7 to 10, roots reach full mature size, typically 5 to 10 centimeters in diameter, and are ready for main harvest. The turnip greens can be harvested even earlier, starting from week 3 onward, by selectively removing outer leaves without damaging the plant's ability to continue growing. Can you grow turnips at home? Absolutely. A container of at least 30 centimeters in depth is sufficient for small varieties like Tokyo Cross. Window boxes, raised beds, and small garden patches all work well. Turnips require approximately 2.5 centimeters of water per week, either from rainfall or supplemental irrigation, and they need full sun to partial shade, at least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily for strong root development. Let's talk about what the turnip actually does for your body, because the nutritional profile of this vegetable is genuinely more impressive than most people realize, and it has been validated by decades of scientific research. A 100-gram serving of raw turnip root contains approximately 28 kilocalories, making it one of the lowest calorie root vegetables available. Despite this, it delivers meaningful nutritional value. It contains roughly 1.8 grams of dietary fiber, which supports healthy digestion, regulates blood sugar response, and contributes to cardiovascular health. It provides 17.1 milligrams of vitamin C, about 20% of the average adult's recommended daily intake, alongside measurable amounts of vitamin B6, folate, calcium, potassium, and magnesium. But the turnip greens, the leaves that most people discard, are where the nutritional density truly becomes remarkable. Turnip greens are a verified superfood by any reasonable nutritional standard. A 100-gram serving of cooked turnip greens delivers over 60% of the daily recommended vitamin K, approximately 37% of vitamin A, as beta-carotene, 33% of vitamin C, and significant amounts of folate, calcium, and manganese. Research published in food science literature consistently identifies turnip greens as among the most nutrient-dense leafy vegetables available, comparable to kale and spinach by several metrics. From a medicinal and bioactive compounds perspective, turnips contain glucosinolates, sulfur-containing compounds that have been studied extensively for their potential role in cancer prevention. When glucosinolates are broken down through chewing or cooking, they produce isothiocyanates and indoles, which research suggests may help neutralize carcinogens and inhibit tumor development. A 2020 review published in the journal Nutrients highlighted brassica vegetables, including turnips, as significant dietary sources of these protective compounds. Turnips also contain anthocyanins in the purple pigmented skin. Anthocyanins are powerful antioxidants associated with reduced inflammation, improved cardiovascular health, and protection against oxidative cellular stress. These compounds have been actively researched for their role in reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and age-related cognitive decline. For people managing blood sugar levels, turnips offer an additional benefit. Their fiber content and relatively low glycemic index mean they cause a slower, more gradual rise in blood glucose compared to higher starch root vegetables like potatoes. Moving to animal agriculture, turnips have served as a critical forage and fodder crop for livestock for centuries, and this use continues today. In Northern Europe, field-grown turnips are grazed directly by sheep and cattle during winter months. The root and the leaf both provide digestible energy and roughage for ruminant animals. Research in New Zealand and Scotland has demonstrated that turnip-based forage systems can meaningfully reduce the cost of winter livestock feeding while maintaining animal weight and health. The crop is also used in cover crop and forage rotations across North American and European farms as a highly efficient biomass producer. From an environmental standpoint, turnips contribute to soil health in several important ways. Their deep taproot structure breaks up compacted soil layers, improving drainage and aeration. As a brassica, turnips release glucosinolates into the soil as they decompose, and research from multiple agricultural universities has shown that these compounds can act as natural biofumigants, suppressing certain soil-borne pathogens and nematodes without synthetic chemicals. When used as a cover crop, turnip biomass adds organic matter back into the soil as it decomposes. The flowers attract bees and other pollinators, and because turnips can be grown in cool seasons, when few other flowering plants are available, they provide a genuinely valuable pollinator food source during gaps in the bloom calendar. Every single food system that humans have built, across every culture, every continent, every era of history, has had at its foundation a small group of highly reliable, fast-growing, nutritionally complete plants that people could count on when everything else failed or was scarce. Turnips were one of those plants. They still are. In an era where seed prices are rising, growing seasons are becoming increasingly unpredictable due to climate shifts, and the cost of fresh produce continues to climb at grocery stores. The turnip offers something that very few other vegetables can match: extraordinary output for minimal input. You plant a turnip seed today. In 35 to 60 days, you have food, not one food, two foods, a root and a green, from a single plant, in a space smaller than your kitchen table. That is not nostalgia talking. That is mathematics. If you are growing food at any scale, even a few containers on a balcony, turnips deserve a place in your rotation. If you are a homesteader or small-scale farmer, the economics are clear. Turnips are low cost to plant, require minimal fertilizer input, and have consistent market demand, particularly for specialty and baby varieties. Organic turnip greens, in particular, command strong prices at farmers' markets and in CSA, community-supported agriculture boxes, because they are genuinely nutritious and relatively rare in commercial retail. Farmers in parts of Japan grow specialized salad turnip varieties, like the Hakure, that sell at premium prices to restaurants and specialty food buyers. This is a market that exists and is growing. On the seed preservation front, this matters more than most people realize. The modern commercial food system has dramatically narrowed the genetic diversity of the crops we grow. As industrial agriculture standardizes around a small number of high-yield, high-uniformity varieties, thousands of older, locally adapted plant varieties disappear from cultivation permanently. Turnips are not immune to this pressure. Many regional heirloom turnip varieties that were once grown across Europe, Asia, and North America are now maintained only by small networks of seed libraries and heritage seed savers. When you grow an open-pollinated turnip variety and save its seeds, you are doing something genuinely important. You are keeping a strand of agricultural biodiversity alive. You are ensuring that future gardeners and farmers will have access to genetic material that carries thousands of years of adaptation to specific climates, soils, and conditions. Saving turnip seeds is also practically straightforward. Allow one or two healthy plants to bolt, to send up their flower stalk in the second year, and they will produce seed pods naturally. The pods are collected when dry, the seeds are threshed out and stored in a cool, dry location, and they remain viable for up to 5 years under proper storage conditions. This is a skill that costs nothing to learn and pays forward indefinitely. Let's come back to the big picture one final time. The turnip is a plant that feeds your body with genuine, research-supported nutrition, from the glucosinolate compounds that protect your cells, to the vitamin K and calcium in its greens that support bone density, to the anthocyanins in its skin that fight inflammation. It feeds your livestock. It feeds your soil. It attracts the pollinators that make the rest of your garden possible. And it does all of this in under 60 days, in cool weather, in small spaces, with minimal water and minimal intervention. Smart gardeners know this. They have always known this. And now you know it too. So here is what I want you to do. This season, not someday this season, find a packet of turnip seeds. It doesn't matter if it's a purple top white globe, a Tokyo cross, a golden ball, or any open pollinated variety you can find locally. Plant them, tend them, harvest both the root and the greens. Taste them. Then share what you grew with someone who has never thought twice about a turnip. Because that is exactly how food knowledge spreads. One gardener, one seed, one harvest at a time. If this video gave you something useful, hit like, leave a comment telling me what variety you're planning to grow, and subscribe so you never miss a deep dive like this one. There are more forgotten, powerful plants worth knowing about, and we are just getting started.